Hi everybody!
Well, what do you know? It has almost been a year since I released my Build the Roster video for Dead or Alive's supposed reboot. Okay, that game will be a year old in 1 month. But still, it's probably time we talk about Dead or Alive again. For those who don't know, Dead or Alive 5 was actually the reason I got into fighting games. My friend also had to pretty much break my arm from twisting it to get me to try it out because I'd always considered Dead or Alive just the boob game because of its reputation amongst other gamers. It also didn't help, I'd just not been exposed to fighting games during my childhood and teen years. They were just never on my radar.
Colin, now before you get too far into this, let me just tell you that, you know what? Why am I doing this? I could just fucking call you. Hey yo, Colin, you Canadian mother...
So my editor is indicating I'm burying the lead here. Before we get too far into the weeds, I'd say Dead or Alive pretty much needs a remastered collection at this point in time. Sure, you could argue older Dead or Alive games are playable on modern hardware thanks to backwards compatibility on the Xbox Series consoles. If you're interested in playing the franchise on Fightcade, the only one I found available on that platform so far is Dead or Alive 2. So if you want your retro Dead or Alive fix, you're pretty much confined to Xbox, unless you want to hunt down a copy of Dead or Alive 2 Hardcore on PS2. Admittedly, DOA 2 Hardcore isn't all that expensive to pick up, running about 21 Canadian dollars on average. But either way, not many people are into collecting retro games and just want old games brought back with some more modern quality of life improvements, and that's a totally valid thing. But why am I talking about a franchise that most would consider dead on arrival at this point in time? Now, Dead or Alive isn't totally dead yet. It's on life support for the most part. The only thing keeping it alive is the somewhat predatory Extreme 3 Scarlet, a game clearly intended for gamers who feel,
Don't you even go there, sir. I know what you're doing. You're stepping into Master Roshi territory. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
so clearly Dead or Alive is not in the best spot right now, but fighting games sure are. Also, before we get into the meat of the video, I just want to thank Osmic1 for helping me come up with this idea when he was on the podcast a while back, and his tweeting about a Dead or Alive collection being required at some point in the near future. So I'm finally coming to my first point. Fighting games, as I just mentioned, are in a very good position right now. This is arguably the best shape they've been in since the Street Fighter 4 days. The big ones like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and Tekken are all in great shape. Tekken's just around the corner, and from what I've played of Tekken 8, it's the most fun I've had in a long ass time with a fighting game. Right now is the perfect time for Koei Tecmo to release one. I do believe there's a Dead or Alive reboot in the works, it's just not ready for prime time yet. As I said in the intro, Dead or Alive is currently playable on modern hardware. However, it's not readily available as you have to have the physical media anyways. Now, I'm not saying releasing these games as single purchases via digital storefronts is the way to go either, though that would be a nice option. What I am saying is for ease of access to the consumer, we need these games available. One-off ports aren't exactly going to rake in the dough though. So it'd actually make more sense for Koei Tecmo to release these games in one package and price it around the same dollar value as one modern game. But how many games do we include in the package? You include Dead or Alive Ultimate, 2 Hardcore, Dead or Alive 3 and 4, and that's it. So why am I excluding Dead or Alive 5 and 6 from this proposed package? Simple really, those games are available on newer hardware and are still readily accessible through physical or digital means, meaning they aren't affected like the first 4 entries. Now I know someone's going to bring up Dead or Alive Dimensions in the comments section, and I do own that game. I've in fact played it. For what it is, and with the Nintendo DS's limitations, it's a good game, with one simple flaw. Its storytelling of Dead or Alive 1 through 4 is completely nonsensical and is extremely hard to follow. It also has limitations of being a DS game. How many good fighting games can you think of on that platform offhand? Dimensions is the only one I can think of. So just including the first 4 games makes the most sense, as Ultimate only released on the original Xbox, 2 Hardcore saw releases on the Dreamcast and the PS2, 3 was limited to the original Xbox only, and the 4th entry was just on the Xbox 360, meaning access to these games is rather sketchy at best. Whereas Dead or Alive 5 has 2 superior versions to the vanilla game, and they're pretty much available on everything at this point. Same goes for the only version of Dead or Alive 6 we've ever gotten. Those are both on modern hardware, and people who want to play those games will have already acquired them, meaning they don't need to be part of the collection. Another reason Koei Tecmo needs to consider a remastered collection for Dead or Alive is because a simple remaster would mean very little investment on the company's part, meaning they could spend a shoestring budget on remastering 4 titles and use that to gauge potential interest in mechanics the player base wants in the reboot. It could also prove to be a testing ground for rollback netcode, which has been applied to the Fightcade version of DOA 2, so clearly superior netcode would be possible with these titles. Also, if you think about it, a remastered collection would potentially bring in new blood and old hats alike, since there are some individuals like me who have never played the original games in their heyday. Plus, there's a whole new generation of fighting game players. Hey, for all we know, there could be some kid out there right now who just needs the push of a pretty waifu to get into fighting games, and they could be the next big thing in the FGC, either as a player or a content creator. Basically, we need to get more new blood into the genre. With fighting games in a good place and the market yet to become overcrowded, it's time to make collections of older fighting games. Dead or Alive is just one of the prime candidates for a remastered release. What fighting game series would you like to get the collection treatment? Let me know in the comments section. Also, if you want to help the channel, I would really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 1,000, and I'd like to reach it by Christmas Eve. Want to see 2 of my previous Dead or Alive videos? Those will be popping up on screen now. Check them out, and until next time, keep blazing that trail.